വന്നിരിക്കും. അസ്സലാമു അലൈക്കും. 8 മാസമായി നമ്മളെ കഴിഞ്ഞ മീറ്റിംഗ് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട്. It's been 8 months since our last meeting. We had various issues, various problems in between, but alhamdulillah we managed to overcome them. And this is our first meeting in 8 months. And inshallah this consistency will continue. We'll have more meetings in the future. And inshallah each and every one of you will attend them. Now let's get to the event first. First of all, first person who's going to be presenting here, he's a high school student. A passionate high school student, a passionate student in learning, in growing, in public speaking and leadership. He enjoys exploring science, building his skills, and getting involved in leadership activities like Gavel Club and Insight. Always looking for opportunities to learn and grow. Please put your hands together for Sinan Abdul Nasir.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think we can just get straight into it. No particular need for anything fancy. So this is called public speaking for people in a hurry. So if you lack confidence, if you forget your sentences when you're saying them, if you have nervous body language, and if you have poor timing skills, I can't help you with that one. That's just practice. You just have to practice that one. There's nothing I can tell you that makes that any better. But what I can help you with is how to make a speech, how to write speeches, little tricks along my almost 13 years of giving public speaking to make your speeches a lot better. So why should you listen to me? Let's start with some trophies. I'm not saying this because I want to brag, a little bit because I want to brag, but also because I want to show you the fact that what I'm saying is in fact true and you can trust me. So these are some trophies I've won over the years. Not just that, this is called Doha Student Summit. I remember seeing some of you there that day. We had about 700 people in the audience, and I gave multiple speeches that day. This is, you can see me there in the corner of it. This is called Qatar Leadership Conference. It was held by Qatar Foundation, the Qatar government, and we had, I think, more than 1,000 people from 4 different countries. It was an international conference, and I was the president of that conference as well. So that's why you should speak. That's why you should listen to me. When I tell you, by the end of this, you're either going to be a really bad public speaker, a really good public speaker, or somewhere in between. That's a promise. Okay. So let's do some fundamentals of public speaking so that everybody is on the same level before we start, right? First thing, the most important, according to me, the most important rule of public speaking is that you should make 1 point and 1 point alone. If you want to make a speech about ice cream, only speak about ice cream. Don't speak about ice cream, you like football in the weekends and homework is horrible. Don't do all of that, just one thing, okay? That's the most important rule according to me. Secondly, there are 5 things that you should do when you're public speaking. 3 of them are very simple, 2 of them are a little different. So let's start with the simple ones, right? Firstly, you should speak slowly, okay? If you speak too quickly, no one's going to understand what you're saying. What was that, right? Nobody understands what you're saying. So what's the point of standing here in front of a stage, in front of all these people, if you're not going to be slow enough that they don't understand what you're saying, okay? That's the first one. Second one is to speak loudly, okay? It doesn't matter how many tricks you learn. It doesn't matter how amazing the speech is if that guy over there can't hear you, okay? Barack Obama, it doesn't matter how amazing he's at public speaking, he would never become the president if he didn't speak loud enough that everybody heard him and they voted for him. And lastly, it's to speak clearly. You have to finish your words. You have to make sure that you pronounce all the words properly, that everybody understands what you're saying, right? If you speak just in the right speed and you speak loud enough that everybody hears you, but you're not pronouncing your words in a way that everybody understands you, there's no point, okay? And here are the 2 hard ones, right? Okay, just get ready for this. This one's a little hard. Firstly, it's pausing. You have to learn how to stop at certain sentences when you're giving a speech. What's the point of pausing? You're here to speak in front of a crowd. Why would you stop speaking, right? That sounds counterproductive. So here's some Here's some knowledge for you. When you pause, right, you're about 90% more likely to be understood by the crowd. By the way, this is research that's done by Harvard. Harvard, they're lawyers and stuff. They like to do research on speaking a lot. So you're 90% more likely to be understood. If you pause, I think somewhere around 20% more. Here's another piece of information for you. If you pause, if you increase how much you pause, the average person increases by 30%. The audience thinks you're 80%, they are 80% more likely to think you're intelligent. So you should always pause. So the next question is, when do you pause, right? When am I supposed to pause in a speech? Here's 2 simple tricks I like to use, right? You use a small pause. You use a small pause when you're highlighting something that's very slightly important. For example, if you're highlighting something that's important to the paragraph, you'll do a small pause. But if it's something that's important to the entire speech, you'll use a big pause, okay? And so what's a small pause? What's a big pause, right? Back when I was, I think, 11 or 12, this is how my dad told me to do it, right? If it's a small pause, that's it, okay? Just breathe in. If it's a big pause, breathe in and out. That's a big pause, okay? So this not just helps you to sound smarter and make sure the audience understands you, but also helps you to breathe. A lot of people, I see that people come here on stage and they're speaking, and all of a sudden they're like this, and they're sweating, and now they're getting like this because they are not breathing enough. So it not only makes you sound smarter, makes sure everybody understands what you're saying, also helps you breathe. So pausing, very, very important. And this is the final one. This is the hardest one. It's called tone. It's how you say words, right? And look, if you go to some kind of conference, right? If you go to some kind of lesson on public speaking, they'll tell you, be like, you need to use curious tone and you need to use engaging tone. It's all stupid. That's all dumb. Realistically, your tone can do 2 things. It can go up and it can go down. So that's the only thing that your tone can do. So when do you use up tone? When you're asking a question and when you're excited. Like, do you want some ice cream? Right? That's up tone. Do you want some ice cream? I'm asking you a question. Or excited. Do you know what happened to me yesterday? Excited. I'm giving you a good piece of information. So that's when you use up tone. What about down tone, right? When am I supposed to stress words? When am I supposed to put pressure behind my voice? That's when you're making a very serious point. This has to stop today. A very serious point. Okay? And also when you're making a very strong point, right? So, like I said, you pause, and you pause when there's a very important point. And also you use a very down tone when you're making a serious point. So what are you supposed to do? At the end of a serious point, you stress it, and you pause for everybody to be able to hear you. Okay? So this just helps you express more emotions in the meeting. Otherwise, you're just going to sound like a robot, and people are going to think you're ChatGPT, and blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants that. So use pauses and use tones to not sound like ChatGPT. Now, this is just a quick summary. Here's the fundamentals of public speaking. Don't speak too slowly. Speak loudly. Speak clearly. Pause and tone. And the most important one here is pausing and toning. They're also the hardest to master. So how do I implement all of this? It's called having... Okay, there we go. It's called having a script. So if you want to be able to do this properly, you have to write a speech. And I know that's really hard, right? But if you write a speech, writing a speech is king, okay? Writing a speech is very important. If you want to do a really good speech, if you want to compete in public speaking, you have to write a speech. So how do you learn a written speech, right? That's really difficult. You have to write a whole page, you have to by heart it. That sounds so difficult, right? How am I supposed to do that? It's pretty simple, okay? Once again, this one's not Harvard, this one's Yale. This is research done by Yale. This is the fastest way to learn any speech. You take 2 pieces of paper, you print them out twice, okay? And then you read the entire speech. You go back to the top, you take a marker, and you cross out the first word. And then you read the entire speech again. And then you cross out the second word. And then you read the entire speech again. If you do that enough amount of times, you'll have a speech like this, right? This one's just for double checking, right? And then by the end of it, you'd have by heart the speech. This takes like 2 days. Easy. This is the fastest way. I've tested it. This is my favorite way to by heart a speech. Okay? And the really beautiful thing about having a speech is the fact that this tone and these pauses and these actions, you can just write them there. This is a cheat code. You don't need to learn how to do it. You can just practice at home. Think, you'll be like, okay, I think I can pause here. Just write that down. By heart it. It's that simple. So really, if you learn the tricks of public speaking, it's so easy. The only difficult part is the fear. And the only way you can solve that is by getting up on stage and just facing it like 5, 10 times. And if you do it just 7 times, even the worst person, the most afraid person, if they do speaking 7 times, gone. Trust me. Okay, so, right, that was a lot of talking, but let's actually get to what a speech is, right? A speech is, 1, it's an opening. 2, it's a story. 3, it's the message. And 4 is the closing, okay? And that's why I say you should focus on only one thing. Because in this, you can't say multiple stories. No one wants to hear this and that and this. People only want to hear one story, okay? And then you're not going to have time for one message, this message, that message. No, you stick to one point and one point only. So what's an opening? This is your first impression. And I have a little bit of bad news for all of you. Sadly, for everybody, as soon as you step here on stage, you have 35 seconds. You have 35 seconds to capture everybody's attention. If you don't capture people's attention in 35 seconds, it's gone. They're not going to pay attention to you at all. Why should they? They don't know who you are. They don't know what you're going to talk about, right? It's not their fault. So you have to tell them, hey, listen to me, and what I'm telling you is important in 35 seconds. So how do you do that? It's quite simple, actually. 1, you've got to keep it short, 35 seconds. 2, you have to surprise the crowd. Because the crowd is bored. They're expecting some guy to come here and talk about this and talk about that. No, okay, you have to surprise them. They're like, no, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about something interesting here. So you have to surprise them. And you have to make them think. Because if you're thinking, they're paying attention to you. This whole thing, this entire introduction is about pay attention to me. That's what it's about. Okay? So how do you do that? It's about 3 ways to do it. 1, you can surprise the crowd. How can you do that? You can use a prop. So if you see a lot of world championship speeches and stuff, if you listen to them, you'll see often they bring a prop on stage. Right? I'll show you some examples in a bit. You can use the surprising fact, or you can use an absurd statement. So what's a prop like, okay? So if you're talking about flowers, you can bring a flower on stage. Here's an example of something I did. 2 years ago, I went to Egypt. And one of my speeches for a competition was about Egypt. So I bought a little stone on stage, this stone to be exact. And I passed it on to the audience. Halfway through my introduction, I said, that's actually the piece of Pyramid of Giza. This piece right here. I borrowed it from the Pyramid of Giza. Okay? And I handed it to the crowd. And it was very interesting. And everyone was like, oh my God, okay, it's all the way from Egypt. Right? So you can use props like that. What's a surprising fact? It could be anything related to your topic. For example, do you know there are more trees on Earth than there are stars in the galaxy? There are more trees on Earth than there are stars in the galaxy. There's about 4 million trees on Earth. There's 3 million stars in the sky. Isn't that amazing? Do you know, according to biological evolution, sharks are older than the bones? So if you go back in time, according to biological evolution, if you go back in time, there were sharks who were born before people had bones, right? Or an absurd statement. For example, there was a speech I did, I think about 2 years ago. I went to, it's also about a trip that I went to. I love traveling, so a lot of my speeches is about traveling. I went to Prague, and I said, I was really surprised by how amazing the culture was. I was really surprised by how good the food was. I was really surprised when I was walking down the street, and I thought I was grabbing my sister, but turns out I had grabbed a random child, and I was dragging along. And I almost accidentally kidnapped a child in Azerbaijan. That's how I said the street. And I think one of my medals from before was from that speech. I was like, what? You almost kidnapped a child in Azerbaijan? It's surprising people. There's another friend of mine who's also a really good public speaker. He did the speech. He was like, do you know when a wasp pollinates a flower, what they do is they'll go and they'll sting the flower. And this causes the stinger of the wasp to break off, causing the wasp to die. When the ants see the fact that the wasp has died, they come along and they drag the corpse of the wasp and they eat it. So when you have a choice to be a wasp or be an ant, you should always choose to be a flower. And then he pulled out a flower from his bag, okay? What did he do? He used a prop, the flower. A surprising fact, wasps die every time they pollinate a flower. An absurd statement, right? If you want to be an ant or you want to be a wasp, choose to be the flower. That's an absurd statement. And in your introduction, you should always ask questions, right? Questions keep them thinking. They concentrate on you, right? And they keep thinking about things you're telling them about. And nonsensical props and situations is also a good way to always keep them thinking. There's a third, this thing, but that's a bit advanced. So inshallah, if you have time, I'll come back to it. So this is I believe, 2011 world champion of public speaking. And I'd like to show you guys the intro to his speech.
You and I are not very different from this flower. Just like this flower is unique, you are unique. All of us have something special that makes us as beautiful.
You see how he's pausing?
What makes you special?
Question.
Now the answer to that can be a little difficult to find. Because sometimes life has a cruel way of picking out your petals, breaking you in two, and throwing you into the trash.
Right? Well, he's got your attention. Why? Because he used a prop. He paused. He's asking you questions because you're thinking. Right? And yeah, it's a good opening. And he was the world champion 2014. Here is another example. Here's another example of, this is 2024, and this one's a bit more recent, of a world champion speaker.
Louisa Montalvo, 37 strike.
Thank you, contest chair.
You're welcome.
Clear! Clear! We have a female, unresponsive, no pulse. Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters from around the world, and guests.
See? That was an absurd situation. She's talking about almost that. And she's acting that out. So that grabs your attention almost immediately. Right? Alright.
Two years ago,
Okay. We can skip this one. Okay. So, what kind of public speaking workshop is it going to be
If I don't make you write a speech. So we have paper here. So we'll split into groups of 4, and each group will have to write an opening to a speech. All right? Excited? Okay. Very excited, aren't you? Paper. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 paper and 4 pen. Oh, one for you guys. Just pass it to the back. Huh? Right hand? Pen pad undo. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So, here's a piece of book for you to earn. Okay, sure. Pass it on. Nobody on that side? No, it's one per group, so everybody doesn't need one. Yeah, so there you go. It's one per group. So your group has to write one, your group has to write one, and your group has to write one. You just need one paper and one pen. There you go. ഒരു പെണ്ണ് കൊടുത്ത എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒരു പെണ്ണ് ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പിൽ ഒരു പെണ്ണ് ഒരു പേപ്പർ മാത്രം മതി. There you go. Pen, you don't have a book, do you? Extra book ഉണ്ടോ? അവിടെ ഒരു ബുക്ക് ഉണ്ട്. ഒരു ബുക്കും കൂടി വേണടാ. ഒരു ബുക്കും കൂടി തരാം. ഒരു ബുക്കും കൂടി. One more book, please. There you go. Okay. So, you guys will write one speech. You will write one speech, just the opening line. You will write an opening line. You will write an opening line. You will write it. Okay? It's groups of 4 and one group of 3. Perfect? Here we go. So, there's the summary. Right? And yes, I know you don't have any props or something like that at the moment, but you can just write it out. All right? Just an opening line. An opening line is about 3 lines. So, write 3 lines. You guys are going to be about summer holiday. Any summer holiday you want. That's your topic. Okay? You guys, let's see. Restaurant, food. Something about food. Let's see. What should I do? Sports? Like sports? You can write about sports? All right. So second group at the back is sports. What do you guys want? Anything? Fashion? You know about fashion? No? Then what else? This guy's got sports. They got traveling. Cars? You can do cars? Okay, sure. Write what you have on top, okay? At the very start, just write what you have. Sports, car, fashion. There you go. Just 3 lines. That's it. That's all you need. 3 lines. Yes. ഒരു വലിയൊരു ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ആക്കുന്നോ? വൺ ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ആക്കുന്നോ? നിങ്ങൾക്കൊരു ഫുൾ ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ആണോ? നിങ്ങൾ ഷെയർസ് ഒന്ന് ടേൺ ചെയ്യുക. ഇവരൊക്കെ one giant group ആക്കുക. അതിൻ്റെ അർത്ഥം നിങ്ങൾ ബെസ്റ്റ് ആണെന്നാണ്. നിങ്ങൾ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ ഗ്രൂപ്പ്. നിങ്ങൾ ടോപ്പിക് എന്നോ? സമ്മർ ഹോളിഡേ മേലെ നിങ്ങൾ ഒരു പേപ്പർ മാത്രമേ അതുകൊണ്ട് നിങ്ങൾ ഏതാണ് പിക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്? ആദ്യം പ്രോപ്പ് ഉപയോഗിക്കാൻ പോകുന്നതാണ്.
അല്ല ഫാക്ട്
സർപ്രൈസ് നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയാമോ അതിന്റെ വീൽസ് ഫുൾ സ്പീഡ് പോയിട്ട് 5 മിനിറ്റ്സിൽ അതിന്റെ വീൽസ് എക്സ്പ്ലോഡ് ചെയ്യും.
8 minutes ഫ്യൂൽ
തീരുന്നതിന് മുന്നേ ടയർ എക്സ്പ്ലോഡ് ആക്കും. അത് പാടില്ല. സമ്മർ നിങ്ങൾ എന്ത് പറയാൻ പറ്റും? അത് നാട്ടിൽ പോകുന്നതാണോ വേറെ എവിടെയും പോകുന്നതാണോ? നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആർക്കും എന്തെങ്കിലും ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് സ്റ്റോറീസ് ഉണ്ടോ? കാശ്മീർ പോയി. ഓക്കെ, കാശ്മീരിനെ പറ്റി നിങ്ങൾ പ്രോപ്പ് ഉപയോഗിക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത് ഈ കാശ്മീർ ഒന്നും കൊണ്ടുവന്ന് കാണും. ട്രാവൽ ചെയ്ത് ഒന്നും സുവിനിയേഴ്സ് ഒന്നും മേടിച്ചിട്ട് ഒരു ഹൈപ്പോത്തറ്റിക്കൽ. നിങ്ങൾ വേറെ കാശ്മീർ പോയി. നീ എവിടെയും പോയില്ല? നീ എവിടെയും പോയില്ല? നാട്ടിൽ പോയിട്ട് വയനാട് പോയിട്ട് വയനാട്ടിൽ നീ എന്നാ ചെയ്തത്? നീ എന്നാ ചെയ്തത്? ഏറ്റവും ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് സാധനം വയനാട്ടിലാണ്. Yes, what's the most interesting thing that happened in Wayanad? Swimming? First time swimming? Resort swimming. Swimming the whole trip stay. Oh, you want a pool? Okay, like when you prop break. When you surprising factor. Upset statement. I never thought how funny it would be. See, cousin, I never thought it would be so funny to see my cousin being grabbed by a cousin. 4 people and thrown into the pool. That was the funniest thing I ever saw in my life. And I knew what 3 into that. I knew 3 sports. Okay. Favorite sports? Favorite sports? Football. Football. Okay, so you football. Football. Physically, ball on there, speech. Football surprising factor. Factor. A surprising wow factor. So, God, good thing into football is normal football, but football fans are football a bit absurd statement. You know how exciting it is to be in a stadium filled with 10,000 people yelling at people I can barely see. This is what I saw at FIFA World Cup 2022. Do you know how amazing it was to sit in a stadium full of 100,000 people looking at tiny people, tiny human beings kick a ball around in FIFA 2022? A stadium, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, and 100,000 people. Football kick. Amazing. Best moment of my year.
Good factor. Force used to make tanks during World War II.
Yes.
For Germans.
They're Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany.
Yeah, for Nazi Germany.
For Hitler. That's interesting. I never thought how funny it would be. Full stop. Thank you. Last one. Okay. So everybody is finished. I think good job. I went around. I don't know what they were doing, but everybody else is pretty good. Something interesting is going on there. Curious as to what's happening there. Okay. So let's move on to the second, right? So there's an opening. Okay. After the opening is the first and the second paragraph. This is where you tell a story. Why a story? Because turn around. Why are you still in a circle? Turn around. There we go. So much better. Why a story? A story is very important because ever since we were cavemen, the first thing we did was tell stories. So the best way I can tell you something you're going to remember is through a story. So if you want somebody to understand your point, and you want them to remember your point, not as soon as they go over the door, they forget. If you want more than that, you want them to remember for a few days, a few months, you tell a good story. All right? What's the first thing you tell children? Well, stories. Little Red Riding Hood. What's the moral of the story? Don't talk to strangers, or you're going to get eaten. Right? What was Cinderella? You're a nice person. Right? If you don't do anything bad, like the evil sisters, you'll get free shoes and get to marry a prince. Right? That was the moral of the story for Cinderella. Okay? So this is where you tell a story. And if you can make it a funny story, that's even better, because people like people who make them laugh. Okay? So, how do you tell a story? Now, before you even tell a story, you have to make sure everybody's listening to you. How do you do that? You do that by something called a preamble. This is what you add before you tell a story, right? You go up to the crowd and you go, hey, I'm going to tell you something that's absurd. You're not going to even believe it. Right? You set their expectations. Let me tell you a story. It's that simple. It's really that simple. Like, you won't believe what I did in the summer of 2024. It's that simple. Okay? So you make sure everybody's listening to you. Everybody's ready to hear a story, because everybody loves to hear a story. So when you say it's story time, oh, okay, I like a story. Why not? Right? What else can you do? When you're telling a good story, what you can do is you can play characters in the story. So how do you do that? For example, you'll be like, hey, did you know what happened yesterday? And then that's one character, right? He's the guy who's telling you what happened yesterday. And then you can switch over to the other side. He's like, no, I don't know. Tell me what happened yesterday. Right? So you can switch between sides when you're playing characters on the stage. What also you can do is your hand gestures. For example, one character, they can move around with their hands here. Well, okay, they can be like, oh, I don't know what happened. Tell me what happened. The other person can move around with their hands on, like up here, right? This way it helps show the fact that these are two different people. Okay, not just switching sides. You can do this with phone, like, hello, hi, nice to meet you. Oh, hello, hi. You can do that. It's a very, very simple thing that adds a little bit of flavor to this thing, any speech. If you look at almost all the World Championship speeches, right? You'll see they're all telling stories and they're playing characters, and they do this on stage. Not always like this, and they're going from other side. Maybe just a little bit here, maybe a little bit there. Just whatever you like to do, right? Also, the most important thing about a story, it's got three things. It has a problem, right? There's the journey of how you're finding a solution, and finally there's a solution, happy ending. All right, Red Riding Hood, she went to her grandmother. Something's weird about my grandmother, that's the problem. What's going on with my grandmother? The wolf is disguised as a grandmother, that's the problem. And then she runs out the house, that's her trying to find a solution. Then she finds a hunter, I think. It's been a while since I've read Little Riding Hood. And the hunter kills the fox, right? That's the moral, that's the end of the story, that's the happy ending. Same thing goes with this thing. While you're telling the story, add emotions, how you felt when you were going through this, right? Little Red Riding Hood, she was panicking. She was afraid, right, of the wolf. Right? That's what you do. So the first paragraph, that's why this is two paragraphs. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2. First paragraph is the problems and how you felt when the problems kept coming and coming and coming. And second paragraph is like, oh, it's not that bad because here's the solution. Right? And that's how you keep an audience engaged. You give them problems and you give them solutions. Okay. And you keep on asking questions. If you look at all the World Championship speeches, they're always asking questions. They're always asking, what would you have done in that situation? What do you think about this? Why? Why? Because it keeps you thinking. And if you're thinking about what I'm saying, you're paying attention to me. And that's one of the most important things about public speaking. You're paying attention to me. Okay? So always ask questions in stories. And finally, this is more to do with the end of the speech, but if you're going to tell a story, always end with a lesson. So if you're going to get a story and there's no moral at the end, right? If Red Riding Hood dies, that's not a very good story, is it? Okay? So there should always be a good ending to a story. If Cinderella never got to meet the prince, what's that? That's a sad story about a sad farmer girl. Okay? Right. This is another World Championship speaker. This was the championship speaker I had the pleasure of talking to. By the way, I met this guy. Cool guy. He's from Saudi. I'll show you his introduction, by the way. I'll show you because it's a really good introduction. So pay attention to his introduction. There's no audio. How's there no audio? Audio. Audio.
This is a really good, I'm sure some of you saw it, this is a really good starter speech. What's that? A cigarette. Do you expect somebody to go on stage and start smoking? No. What's that? Upset prop. What? Question. What do you do after you got up that upset prop? He paused.
People get killed.
Huh? What else is he doing when he's bringing out the watch? Tone. Question. Soft. This is great. This is one of the best openings I've ever seen in this movie. But
The statistics for 2014 it showed the wildlife rate rising. Towards the end of college, Nelson got straight A's. Anything to make him happy. My friend Nelson,
this is right.
he loved his father.
What's the
I
problem?
think he
He
loved
loves
his
his
father.
father.
He would do anything to make him happy.
Problem.
But his father was the kind of person who's not easy to impress. And year after year, Nelson's tried, and his father was like, yeah. Towards the end of college, Nelson got straight A's. And he got to himself, this is it. This was what finally make my dad proud. He picked up the phone, he called his dad, Dad, I got straight A's. Are you proud? Please tell me you're proud, Tom.
He's playing the
Yeah,
character.
listen, son. I'll have to call you back. I'm busy. I'm busy was the single sentence that broke the camel's back. And he started looking.
And the story goes on, but
There were brothers.
I think most people get the point, right? This is one very bad clip.
And one evening I got the phone call. Nurse was in the emergency room. Double overdose. I rushed to the hospital.
ഇത് ഇവിടുന്ന് പ്ലേ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട് അതാണ് പ്രശ്നം ഓഫായി പക്ഷേ എനിക്ക് ക്ലിക്കർ വർക്കില്ല അതാണ് പ്രശ്നം നെക്സ്റ്റ് സ്ലൈഡിലേക്ക് പോയി ഇവിടുന്ന് ഇവിടുന്ന് ഈ നെക്സ്റ്റ് ഇയർ വെച്ചു നെക്സ്റ്റ് ഇയറോ അല്ല Okay, so basically, this is how you tell a story, right? You tell them what the problem is. The problem was his father didn't pay attention to him, okay? And then you play a character, him calling his father, please tell me you're proud, right? Low tone, right? And he's like, look, I'm a little busy at the moment. Could you not stop being so annoying, right? And so that's how he's portraying the story. And the story goes on, and then you can see him talking about the problem and the solution and stuff like that. The solution, the moral of the story is, if you're nice to people, blah, 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 they won't get in trouble and stuff like that. Next one. Next. This is also a really good story, but we're running out of time, so I'll skip this one. Okay, summary, right? How do you do the first and second paragraph? You tell a little story, you start with a preamble. Tell them what kind of story you're going to tell them. Tell them how exciting the story is. Tell them how wonderful the story is, right? And then story structure. You start with the problem, you start with the struggles with the emotions, and then at the end, you tell them what the solution was. And you ask a bunch of questions while you're telling them the story. So that keeps them engaged. Now, you're going to write the first and second paragraph, but there's a little bit of twist. For my own entertainment, you're going to be switching papers. Let's go. Come on then. You're going to take that paper, you're going to give it to him. You'll be writing the other person's speech. Why? Because it's fun for me. There you go. Where's your speech? Oh, you put it there. Why? Enjoy this speech. It's a very good speech. Okay, you guys, you can go back to your circle. Now give me your speech. Okay, here you go. Here's a new speech for you. Oh, no need for the bouquet. Back to the back one. Yeah. All right. Have a read, and you don't have to write the whole first and second paragraph. Just write bullet points. Okay? No need to write the full paragraph. Just bullet points. You look like you're enjoying the speech. The good speech. Okay, good. Hey, don't ask him for help. Don't ask help. That's no. You have to do it yourself. You're writing the next two paragraphs of that, but just in bullet points. You don't have to write the full thing. Okay? Like, give it a read. Why are you just standing there? Come closer. You're a team. Wow, so close. Wow. Put it in the middle and read it out loud. In the middle, read it out loud. You can make it into a circle if you want. You can come here, make circle, whatever helps. The next two lines of that speech, whatever you think should follow that sentence. What do you think is next? What's the speech about? What's the speech about? Let's see.
What do you read? Bad handwriting.
Vomiting. Okay. Have you ever done that in a restaurant? Pause. I have. That's my entire. Okay. You're in Zaytun on my. Okay. Fish curry. Yeah. So you. Yeah. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Next line. You can make this up, by the way, because it's like somebody else's story. You can make this up. This time it's okay. What? Okay. She threw up. What's next? Tell the story of when you threw up. Tell the story of you walked into that restaurant and you met your cousin and you're so excited. Okay, sure. Okay. Who's going to throw up? You or him? He's going to throw up? Okay, sure. All right, you two are going to throw both? Wow. Two people throwing. That's... Okay. Why was this going on? Right. Okay. What's the speech? Now, what's it about? It's about cars. Lovely. You like cars? വരും ബുള്ളറ്റ് പോയിന്റ്സ് ചെയ്താൽ മതി ഫുൾ സെന്റൻസ് ചെയ്തണം ആക്ച്വലി Yes. What happened after the vomiting? No, don't start after the vomiting. Start at the beginning of the story. Start when you walked into Zaytun.
The answer. That's what happened.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Start when he's saying, what he said? He said we should start when you walked into Zaytun. That's when you should start, not after the vomiting. So when you walked into Zaytun and you met him and you shook his hand and you said Assalamu alaikum and I didn't see him in so long. Whatever. Okay, just bullet points. Okay, what's next? Cars, Allah. Cars. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Did you know Porsche used to make? Yes. നിങ്ങൾ പോർഷനെ പറ്റി സംസാരിക്കോ? നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പോർഷ ഇഷ്ടമാണോ? അത് വേണ്ട. അത് വേണ്ട ആക്ച്വലി. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പോർഷ ഇഷ്ടമാണോ? Okay, but even though I still love Porsche. എന്നിട്ട് നീ പോർഷനെ പഴി പറയാം. നീ എപ്പെങ്കിലും പോർഷനെ കണ്ടിക്കാ? നീ പോർഷനെ കണ്ടിക്ക്? ഭയങ്കര അല്ലല്ല അത് മനസ്സിലായി. കാർ നീ പോർഷെ കാറിനെ കണ്ട അത്ഭുതപ്പെട്ടു ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടില്ല? ഓക്കെ, എന്നാ നീ പറയാ ഇവിടെ അടുത്ത ലൈൻ എന്നാ ബുള്ളറ്റ് പോയിന്റ് ആണ്. വെറും ബുള്ളറ്റ് പോയിന്റ് ആണ്. ബുള്ളറ്റ് പോയിന്റ് എഴുതിക്കോ. പറ്റിയ നിന്റെ മദറിന്റെ സൈഡിലത്തെ ഫാമിലി, നിന്റെ മദറിന്റെ സൈഡിലത്തെ മൊത്തം ഫാമിലി അടുത്തൊന്നാണ്. ആലോചിച്ച് നോക്ക്. നിനക്ക് പോർഷ ഇഷ്ടമാണോ? നല്ല കൂൾ കാറാണോ? നീ എപ്പം പോർഷനെ കണ്ടിക്കോ? നീ അത്ഭുതപ്പെട്ടേക്കോ? കണ്ടിട്ട് ഇല്ല. ഓക്കെ, സോ ഞാൻ പറയാം എനിക്ക് പോർഷ ഇഷ്ടം, പക്ഷെ വില കാണാൻ രസമൊന്നുമില്ല. നീ കണ്ടതിനെ പറ്റി പറയാം. നീ കണ്ടതിനെ പറ്റി പറയാനായിട്ട് എനിക്ക് വലിയ അത്ഭുതം പോലെ തോന്നിയിട്ടൊന്നുമില്ല. എതിക്കോ വലിയ ഹെൽപ്പ് വലിയ കുട്ടികൾ. നിങ്ങൾ ഒന്നാണ് സമ്മർ അല്ല, വോമിറ്റിംഗ് ടു സമ്മർ. ഓക്കെ, ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ്. ഗുഡ് ലക്ക്. പോഷൻ എനിക്ക് ഇഷ്ടം. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഏത് കാറാണ് ഇഷ്ടം? നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഏത് കാറാണ് ഇഷ്ടം? നിന്റെ കാർ. നിന്റെ കാറിനെ പേര് പറയും. എന്റെ ഉപ്പാന്റെ കാറിൽ നാട്സി ജർമ്മനി ഒന്ന് വറക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇതിക്കോ നിങ്ങൾ ഏതാ? ഓക്കെ, പറയാം. അത് ശരിക്കും പറഞ്ഞാൽ ജാപ്പനീസ് ആർമി ഉണ്ടാക്കി, പക്ഷെ അത് മറന്നു. അതാണ് പറയണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ല. അത് പറഞ്ഞേ. എനിക്ക് പോർഷ, അതുകൊണ്ട് എനിക്ക് പോർഷ ഇഷ്ടമാണ്. എന്റെ ഉപ്പാന്റെ വണ്ടി ജർമ്മനി നാട്സ് ടാങ്ക്സ് ഒന്നും ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ടില്ല. എഴുതിക്കോ, എനിക്ക് വേണ്ട എഴുതിക്കോ. കഴിഞ്ഞു. സോ ഒരു പാരഗ്രാഫ് കഴിഞ്ഞോ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് അത് പ്രോബ്ലം ഡിസ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്താ? പ്രോബ്ലം എന്താണ്? വോമിറ്റിംഗ്. ഓക്കെ, ശരി. നിങ്ങൾ എങ്ങനെയാണ് അതിന്റെ ഇമോഷൻസ് എങ്ങനെയാണ് നിങ്ങൾ സ്റ്റോറി എങ്ങനെയാണ് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്യുന്നത്? അത് ഇംബാരസ്. ഓക്കെ, ശരി. പക്ഷെ അതിന്റെ പ്രോബ്ലം നീ വോമിറ്റ് ചെയ്തു. ഓക്കെ, എന്നിട്ട് എല്ലാവരും ആൾക്കാർ കണ്ടു. ഇത് ഞാൻ ഭയങ്കര ഇംബാരസ് ആയിട്ട് ഞാൻ കരയാൻ തുടങ്ങി. Emotions. I ruined everyone's moment. You ruined everyone's moment. Yes, very good. Okay. Manam, smell. What's the smell? Oh, on the fish curry. You ruined the fish curry. Nobody likes fish curries. No. It was fried chicken then. He's right. Okay, all right. What's the solution? നിങ്ങൾ ഛർദിച്ചു. നിങ്ങൾ കരഞ്ഞ് ഛർദിക്കുന്ന അടുത്ത സൊല്യൂഷൻ നിങ്ങൾ കരഞ്ഞ് നിർത്തുക. ഓക്കെ, സോ എൻ്റെ പാട്ട് ലെമൺ ജ്യൂസാണ്. എന്നിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞ് വലിയ കാര്യമൊന്നുമില്ല. ആർക്കും ഫിഷ് കറി ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടില്ല. എന്റെ ഫാദർ പറഞ്ഞു എന്റെ ലെമൺ ജ്യൂസ് മേടിച്ചു. എന്നിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞ് കരേണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ല. ആർക്കും ഫിഷ് കറി വലിയ ഇഷ്ടമൊന്നുമില്ലായിരുന്നു. ഛർദിച്ച് വലിയ പ്രശ്നമൊന്നുമില്ലായിരുന്നു. റെഡിയാണോ? എന്റെ ഫാദറിന്റെ വണ്ടി ബുള്ളറ്റ് പോയിന്റ്. ഓക്കെ, റെഡിയല്ല? ഇമോഷൻസ് ആയിരുന്നു. സങ്കടം, സന്തോഷം, ശരി. തൊട്ടൊക്കെ ചെയ്യുന്നത് നിങ്ങൾ എല്ലാവരും ഹെൽപ്പ് ചെയ്യും. ഷൂലേസ് ഇങ്ങോട്ട് അയച്ചിട്ട് മറന്നല്ല, ഹെൽപ്പ് ചെയ്യണം.
Two great players facing up against each other. They are not the only two great people.
versus
നീ ഇപ്പോ ഫുട്ബോൾ എന്നല്ല
വരാൻ കുറച്ച് പേടിയാണ്. എന്താണ് രണ്ട് മിനിറ്റ് കൂടിയാ നോക്കാം. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് 2 മിനിറ്റ് കൂടിയാണ്. 2 മിനിറ്റ് കൂടി. ഇത് ഉപയോഗിച്ചോ. മറ്റേത് ഗുണമില്ല, എൻ്റെ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. ഇത് എൻ്റെ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, ഇത് എൻ്റെ ആണ്, ഇത് സ്വാപ്പ് ചെയ്യാം. അതെവിടെയുള്ള ബാക്കിലാണ്, ഇത് ബാക്കിലാണ്. അത് റിപ്ലേസ് ചെയ്താൽ മതി. അങ്ങനെ യെസ്. Okay. Ready or no? Finish? 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 Not finish? One more minute. Ole good. Part of it. Faster. Yes. Okay, one second. ഒന്ന് കൂടി വെച്ചത് പറഞ്ഞോ. Come on, hurry up. Okay, right. Okay, now turn around again. Okay, great. So that's the first and second paragraph. And now we have, as you can guess, the third paragraph, right? So, okay. Guys at the back, come on. All right, so third paragraph. So what's the point of the third paragraph? The third paragraph is one of the easiest paragraphs in a speech. It's literally you telling them what the lesson of your speech is. Just write it out. It's that easy. If the lesson of your speech is, let's say your speech is about ice cream, okay? And you're talking about, I had such a difficult time, and I was crying when I was a kid. And then my brother, he bought me ice cream for the first time, and I touched that cold cup, and all my sadness, it disappeared, just like that cold cup. And I had the scoop, okay, now I'm hungry for ice cream. But look, the third paragraph is just talking about, hey, whenever you have a problem in life and you're struggling and it's difficult, maybe you should just sit down and eat a cup of ice cream. It's that simple. You just describe what the moral of the story is. Okay, you just describe it in pattern, in a sentence, and you talk about it, and you're building momentum towards the closing of your speech. And so you're supposed to do it very poetically, right? You're supposed to be like, when there's difficult times and, you're struggling. And that's majority of speech, right? None of it really means anything, but you say it with like this, and you look at the audience when you say it, and you dress it up like it's fancy. For example, like I said, my friend, he was talking about what? The wasp pollinating the flower. If you have to choose between the wasp and the ant, you should be the flower. That means nothing. It's literally meaningless. What does that mean? Nothing. But you stand there and be like, if you want to choose between the wasp and the flower, you choose the flower. Like, yeah, you say it like that, and that's the importance of tone and body language. It makes your message sound a lot better. Okay? So, once again, we have video from this guy. Let's start it. The audio. Audio.
Introduce me to this strange club that has a strange name.
Next time, next time. Where's this one going from? Mostly, slightly up. This one's good.
Doing drugs, hanging out with the wrong crowd. Now, so why? Why are you throwing your life away?
Question. Keep them thinking, huh?
If the one person
person in the world that I care about the most doesn't care, then why should I? And one evening I got a phone call. Nurses in the emergency room. Drug overdose. I rushed to the hospital. I saw him in that bed. And I saw that machine go beep, beep.
By the way, this is still second paragraph, okay? This is not third paragraph, just read.
And I saw doctors try to bring him back to life. Clear! 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 It's clear that a single word
This is the third
will
paragraph.
save this life. Words have power. Words are power. Words could be your power. You can change a life, inspire a nation, and make this world a beautiful place. Isn't that what we all wanted? Isn't that what we are all in this for? Your mouth can spit venom, or it can mend a broken soul.
So that's the third paragraph. Don't worry, you get to watch the end, the closing. So, once again, for my own entertainment, you'll be swapping papers again. Let's go. I love this one. Here you go. This one was yours, right? Summer holiday was yours. Okay, you get summer holiday. Enjoy that. What's yours? You get this one. There you go. Yeah, sure. Here you go. New one for you. Enjoy. Let's go back. Okay, there you go. Help me, come on. Good luck. Bye, come. നിങ്ങളെല്ലാം ഒരു നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരും അവിടെ ഇങ്ങനെ നോക്കി നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആകെയാണ് കിട്ടിയത് വോമിറ്റിംഗ് ആയിട്ട് ആദ്യം ഓലത് entire paternal lineage. The mother side.
Maternal mother, paternal father.
നിന്റെ ഫാദറിന്റെ ഫാമിലി ഉണ്ട് ഐസ്ക്രീം ആലോചിച്ചോക്ക് എന്താണ് കഥ എന്താണ് സ്പീച്ച് പോർഷനെ പറ്റിയിട്ടല്ലേ ഓക്കെ എന്റെ സ്റ്റോറി എന്നാ
പോർഷ നല്ലല്ല
നല്ലല്ല അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് എന്താണ് പറഞ്ഞത്
ഇനി നല്ലതാണെന്ന് എഴുതാൻ പറ്റുമോ ഇനി നല്ലതാണെന്ന് എഴുതാൻ പറ്റുമോ
ഞാൻ ആദ്യം പറയൂ എനിക്ക് ഇതാണ് അല്ല എന്നൊക്കെ ഒറ്റ മിനിറ്റ് ഞാൻ 5 സെക്കൻഡ് ആയിട്ട് മൈൻഡ് മാറ്റി ഇതാണ് വേറെയാണ് പറയാനില്ലേ ഓക്കെ പോർഷൻ നല്ലല്ല വേറെന്താണ് പറഞ്ഞത് വെറും പോർഷൻ നല്ലല്ല മോറൽ ഓഫ് ദി സ്റ്റോറി
ഖത്തറിന്റെ കണ്ടീഷൻസ്
ഓല് പറഞ്ഞത് എന്താണ് ടൊയോട്ടയാണ് മോറൽ ഓഫ് ദി സ്റ്റോറി എന്നാണ്
ഇതും കൂടി എഴുതിട്ട് പിന്നെ ക്ലോസ് ചെയ്ത പോരെ
നിങ്ങൾ മോറൽ ഓഫ് ദി സ്റ്റോറി പറ Okay. It doesn't matter what anybody tells me. I'll never not നോക്കട്ടെ കാഴ്ച നോക്കട്ടെ ഓക്കെ ശരി ഏത് പാട്ട് so many questions okay so many cousins
ആർക്കറിയാം. എന്നാണ് നിങ്ങൾ കിട്ടിയത്? സ്പോർട്സ്. Don't play football. That's the moral of the story. Don't play football. Don't play football. It's bad for you.
Should play volleyball instead.
Sure. Why not? That's a great, yeah. First time I've heard that speech, but yeah, sure. Go for it. Now what? Why? Why? Why?
Why? Because they made yeah.
Okay, sure. So we shouldn't think about such things, yeah. So what you're saying, what volleyball doesn't have that many problems?
No.
What do you say? What do you do? What's going on here? Okay. Figure it out. It's so fun for me. I'm enjoying this. Not yet. Soon. No, next.
No, third paragraph.
Yeah, now third pair. Yes.
Still force also the paragraph still force.
What's the main point? What's the main point of this?
BMW
സ്വന്തം മൈൻഡ് വേണമെങ്കിൽ ഷാജി പൊട്ടിയെടുത്തൊക്കെ ഞാൻ നോക്കാം. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പിന്നെ ഛർദിച്ചിനെ പറ്റില്ലേ?
ഛർദിച്ച് പിന്നെ ഫാദർ കറിയിൽ കുഴപ്പമുണ്ട് പറഞ്ഞു. ഇപ്പൊ ഫാദർ മാനേജറിന്റെ അടി ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നുണ്ട്.
ഓ, അടി മോറൽ സ്റ്റോറി ആദ്യം നിങ്ങൾ ഹിറ്റ്ലറിനെ കൊണ്ടു, ഇവ നിങ്ങൾ പോർ മാനേജറിന് ഐസിയുൽ ഇട്ടു. സ്റ്റോറി എന്നാണ് ഛർദിക്കും.
അടി ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ പാടില്ല. കൺക്ലൂഷൻ നമ്മളെ അല്ല.
നിങ്ങളൊന്നും പേടിക്കേണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ല. കൺക്ലൂഷൻ നിങ്ങളെ ആയിരിക്കും. That's somebody else. So you don't have to conclude. I'm going to swap again. You don't have to care about like if it's going to conclude well, because that's their problem, not yours. I speech നിങ്ങളുടെ സ്പീച്ചോ
ഇത് കൊല്ലാൻ നോക്കാം. Don't take light things seriously.
അത് പറ.
ഇത് സ്റ്റോറി ഇതാണ് കൺക്ലൂഷൻ. ഇത് കൺക്ലൂഷനാ?
മൂന്നാമത്തെ പാരഗ്രാഫ്, കൺക്ലൂഡിംഗ് പാരഗ്രാഫ്. വെറുതെ പണ്ടത് പറഞ്ഞ നീ
ICU പോയി എന്നിട്ട് അടുത്ത ലൈൻ ഇതായിരിക്കും. ICU നാട്ടിലല്ലേ? ICU എല്ലാ ഹോസ്പിറ്റലുണ്ട്. Chowk down and ended up in the ICU.
നിങ്ങൾ മോറൽ ഓഫ് ദ സ്റ്റോറി 3 പോയിന്റ്സ് നീ റെഡിയാണോ? ആലോചിച്ചിട്ട് മോറൽ ഓഫ് ദ സ്റ്റോറി എന്നാണ്. Okay. Next time if I could go back in time, I would choose blah 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 blah. നിങ്ങൾ മോറൽ ഓഫ് ദ സ്റ്റോറി എന്താണ്?
Do not buy Porsche. But I don't like it because it's in Qatar.
The ISIS like hospital kidnapping, the ISIS like what? More like the story that I ready now? Tomorrow? Okay, perfect. Marcheno അല്ലെങ്കിൽ still Marcheno അല്ലെങ്കിൽ still
He's feeling okay. He's feeling better now. Moral of the story, don't take things seriously. Pade ida moral like
Okay. Ready now? Ready now? Almost. The favorite part. Oh, I like this topic. Original story. Kaya. Finish? Kaya. Oh yes, you didn't play. Right. Okay. So this is the final piece of writing this thing. It's called is the closing. So this is how you. I got 1 more second. Why not? He can keep writing while I'm talking. So this is the closing of a speech, right? This is where you end the speech. This is literally just 1 line, 2 lines, okay? So what do you do when closing a speech? You make a statement. You talk about, what was yours? What's your speech about? What's your speech about? Yeah. What? Sports, okay. You talk about just in a single sentence, it's very important for us to always be active. So I encourage everybody in this audience, let's all take our suits off and let's play a game of sports. 1 sentence, easy, simple, something like that. So rapid, poetically, let's all get together, all right? Let's all put in some effort and let's play some sports, right? Something simple, something nice, it sounds nice. And finally, you bring it, what? Full circle. For example, right? What does bringing it full circle mean? For example, if you start the speech with a prop, bring back the prop. The guy who was smoking on stage, what did he do at the end of his speech? He brought back the cigarette and said, with the power of words, we can stop people from, committing blah, blah, blah. And he tore the cigarette, right? That's what he did. He brought the prop back. For example, you did a vomiting thing on your speech, right? You can bring that back, the speech. If you started it with an absurd statement, you guys talked about how Porsche used to make tanks for Nazi Germany. So you bring that back at the end, blah, 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 blah. My dad's car, they were never used by Nazi Germany. That's why I like my dad's car better, right? You bring whatever you started with back and you end it nice and poetically. And there's also something you can do. You can pose a question at the end of your speech, whatever the topic is about. I love sports. What about you? Something nice, something that'll make them think. Okay? Yeah. And here is, this is, so we saw this lady. She was having what, a heart attack at the start. And now we're going to look at the conclusion of her speech. And there's no audio. Wow. Audio. Audio.
That reset button. If you're looking for that second chance, if you're ready to hit that reset button, if you're looking for that second chance, let's hit that reset button. Are you ready? Clear? Clear.
See? What was the start of the speech? The start with what? Clear, clear, clear. Talking about heart attack. Now she brought that back. And it's one simple, small line. Tonight in poetry, if you want a reset, let me give it to you. That's it. It's that simple. It's either the audio or the slides. You know, next slide they go. This is the last one. So, if you want the summary of everything I just spoke right now, I wrote it down, ChatGPT wrote it down. You can QR scan it and then I'll give you the PDF of it. I'm going to post it in the group. If you're too lazy, you can take it from the inside Gavel Club. So, my favorite part, let's stop at this. You guys are vomiting, right? Who has the vomiting paper? You guys, give it back to me. Okay, what do you have? Sports, who has sports? First, laughter. Okay, perfect. What do you have? Portion, who? There we go, portion. And finally, it was summer. No.
Still കിട്ടിയില്ല. ഇനി മതി. ഇനി നിന്റെ സ്പീച്ച് ഓരോ സ്പീച്ചാണ്. Pause ചെയ്യണോ? ഓ അത് ശരി. എടാ അതിലൂട്ടില്ല തിരിച്ച് അപ്പുറത്തെ സൈഡിൽ. Simple, just one single line. That's all you need to end the story. what you just tell what you learned from the speech? What do you want? Read it and then you think to yourself, what do you want the person who listened to your speech to learn from it? Just write that down. That's it. What did she want? What did she want you to learn? If you want a reset in life.
It's unreadable. Readable.
നിന്റെ കഥയല്ല. Wait.
It's readable.
ഒരു ലൈൻ കൺക്ലൂഷൻ നമുക്ക് അറിയാലോ. ഒരു ലൈൻ കൺക്ലൂഷനായി പറയാം.
Just one line. Just one line. Just one line. Conclusion. What's the moral of the story? Simple, poetic, എല്ലാവർക്കും മനസ്സിലാവും.
സ്റ്റാർട്ടിംഗ് തിരിച്ച് എന്തെങ്കിലും കൊണ്ടുവരണം.
Sure. Talk about Porsche and Hitler. Just like Hitler's not so good, Porsche is also not so good. അതിവിടെ ക്യാമറ ഉണ്ട്. Yeah, live on.
ആര് കാണുന്നില്ല?
Good, bad. You done? Finished? Oh, lovely. Stage time.
Later. So many questions later. That's later.
Four guys, it's strong. Can you?
എടാടാ ഇതിന്റെ പേരെന്താ വിളിച്ചേ? ജയനല്ലേ?
You're happy? Okay. Okay, everybody is finished. We'll have a quick Q&A session. And after that, it's my favorite part. You're all going to read in front of everybody. So you have two choices. You can either ask me a lot of questions and waste time and we won't get to the presenting. Or, if you're all very excited to present, you can ask no questions at all. Question time. Who wants to, any questions? Perfect. Okay, let's start with you guys. On stage, the entire group. Let's go. This is my favorite part. Wait. Go on. Let's go. Sure. Everybody, please pay attention. Everybody in this room wrote a piece of that speech. So let's see how it ended up.
When I walked in Zaytoon, I saw my friend. I was so mad. I vomited in front of my whole family. I ruined everyone's mood. My father ordered some soda and said it was okay. He said to me that the fish curry was not that tasty. They did not want it. The fight escalated. So who is the ground ready to sleep for this one? The moral of the story is to never take life. He was later found dead. Next time, you in front of your entire family belongings. Run, run far.
Whoa. All right. Yes. Who wants to go next? Yes. Come on. Who's going up? Am I? Okay. Everybody, please pay attention. Walaikum.
Did you know that Porsche used to create tanks during World War II for Nazi Hitler? Check, for Nazi Germany, which was ruled by Hitler. Porsche is a good car, but because I stayed in Qatar, in Qatar, Porsche is a very common car, so I don't like it. Porsche is not fit for